Hegel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. I hope everyone's doing good this week or this weekend, whatever day you're listening to this on. I hope you're having a good one. This is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. I'm recording this episode a little bit early, but I am going to be releasing it during the normal time. So if something comes out over the weekend that I miss, that would be why, and it'll just be in the next episode. We're going to go ahead and start this episode off just the same way we started the last two episodes, with what was announced at that game showcase. There was a Nintendo Direct this past week on Wednesday, I believe it was. And they premiered it at like 10 a.m. my time, which of course I'm working, so I was a little bit late on watching it, but it was it was one of the directs of all time. Actually, it was probably like one of the better ones of all time, really, to be honest. But there was a couple stuff in the middle that were, there was a couple things that like, you know, you would have like the big reveal, and then there'd be like 5 things that I didn't care about, and then there would be a big reveal. You know, it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, there's stuff happening, and there's a lot of good stuff happening, but sometimes between these big announcements, there's just these things that I just cannot find. I can't force myself to care about anime game number 15. Okay, I just can't do it. But let's talk about the good. All right. We are getting a brand new Mario and Luigi game called the Mario and Luigi Brothership. This is the RPG, not the the Paper Mario games, but you play with Mario and Luigi, and they can interact and work together to bring down enemies. There is one Mario and Luigi game on the Nintendo Switch Online service right now. I forget which one it is right now. But you know, if you want a good taste of what this game is probably going to be, there you go. You can go ahead and do that. The main difference that I'm seeing here is the graphics style of the game. It's like a harsh outlined characters with shell shaded underneath, like making it kind of look like a comic book-ish kind of aesthetic there. It kind of reminds me of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS in a way, and I think it looks really good for the Mario and Luigi games, and there's a lot of goofy characters that showed up during the event, and I was very excited. This is the first Mario and Luigi game since like, gee, I don't even know, since the 3DS days. It's probably been about what, 8 or 9 years at this point, maybe. I don't know who's developing this one, because the studio who was giving us the Mario and Luigi games, I think it was called Alpha Dream, closed down a while ago. So I was hoping that Nintendo would have revived the studio to work on this, but I don't know. There's been no information about that. Nintendo's pretty secretive about who's working on their games usually, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, this it's looking pretty good, so we'll see how it feels when it comes out. The release date is this year, November 7th, so we have that to look forward to, along with other things, as we'll talk about. Nintendo World Championships NES Edition got a quick little overview trailer. It's still coming out the 18th of July. You'll be speedrunning in over 150 challenges. You'll face off against the best times of players in different skill levels in survival mode. Put your skills to the test in the Legends challenges, which are across 13 NES games. It's looking pretty cool. I did pre-order that collector's edition because it was literally the same price as like a PS5 game or PS4 game, like $60. And it's like, okay, I mean, the base game's $40. You get like all this stuff with the physical version. I'll just get the physical version because it's kind of cool. So yeah, I'm interested in that. Interested enough that I'm going to be getting it. So July 18th, that's coming out. Fairy Tail 2. Experience the final battle of Natsu and his friends in an epic action RPG. This is the final chapter of the original work only Koei Tecmo and Gust can deliver. So yeah, I guess Fairy Tail's anime, and this is like the game based on the anime. This is coming out in winter of 2024. Phantasan Neo Dimension. This is also coming out in winter 2024. This is from the father of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. It's also the original composer, Nobuo Uematsu, returning to deliver an original RPG story. Experience the enhanced version of Phantasan Neo Dimension with brand new features including English and Japanese voiceovers and an additional difficulty option. You'll assume the role of Leo as he journeys to recover his memories and solve the mystery of a strange mechanical infection destroying his world. So yeah, I mean, this is like a back to the basics RPG kind of game here. There's a multi-dimensional universe to explore with over 150 charming handcrafted dioramas. So if you're looking forward to that, that's coming out in winter this year. Phantasan Neo Dimension. Nintendo Switch Sports got an update. This game released, 2 years ago, and it's finally getting another update after that golf update. So they're adding basketball to the game, which I don't know anyone who's really excited for this. I mean, it's a nice addition if you're still playing the game, but I mean, I don't know who's playing the game at this point. So there's going to be 2v2 matches using motion controls. There's also the solo 3-point challenge and a 5-streak battle. That'll be available in summer, so probably soon at this point. Mio, Memories in Orbit. This is a cool-looking 2D adventure game set in a vessel, a gigantic spaceship drifting in space for mysterious reasons. You play as an android named Mio and explore the decaying and mesmerizing world, overgrown with machines gone rogue. Uncover secrets, enhance their abilities, and save the spaceship and its residents from oblivion. This game looks pretty cool. I like the art style. It seems to be kind of like kind of what you expect from a 2D adventure game. A little bit platforming, a little bit of hack and slashing. Might be a bit Metroidvania in there as well. I guess we'll have to wait and see for more info on that. Disney Illusion Island. I forgot that this was a Switch exclusive. So, the new Mystery in Monoth update dropped the same day as the Direct. Curious clues are popping up across Monoth, and Dash Dolphin needs your help finding them. Locate clues, close cases, and solve this brand new detective mystery. I'm not sure exactly what this all entails, but I like the idea of finding the clues and putting together this case for this detective dolphin guy. I remember playing this. We never finished it, but it's more this is more of a Metroidvania 2D platformer, getting new abilities and going through various locations, and obviously more content. Never gonna say no to that in the game. Hello Kitty Island Adventure. This is coming in 2025. Embark on a cozy adventure with Hello Kitty and friends and restore an abandoned island to its former glory. Can you solve the mystery hidden within? I'm pretty sure this one kind of reminded me of Animal Crossing. The video for some reason isn't loading for some reason. Apparently this game was on Apple Arcade, so if you want to try it out, you can already play it on an iOS phone. But it's coming to Switch officially in 2025 if you want to check that out. Here was a big surprise. Looney Tunes is getting a new game called Wacky World of Sports. Avoid wacky obstacles and gain power-ups to incite chaos against your friends and family as you play your favorite Looney Tunes characters in 4 classic sports: basketball, soccer, golf, and tennis. So this is the big sports collection that people were thinking that Mario was going to be doing, because back in the day there was that Nintendo 3DS game where there was basketball and tennis and stuff included in it. Now we have the Looney Tunes game, and it looks all right. I believe it's coming from the same people who did Skull Kong Island, so That I guess that's really all I need to say about that, huh? Among Us, of course, we already know this, but it's getting an update. They wanted to put this in the Nintendo Direct, give it a bit of extra pomp and circumstance. Prep the airlock and join your crewmates in a multiplayer game of teamwork and betrayal. All new roles: Noisemaker, Tracker, and Phantom. So the Noisemaker can like trick people with like stuff. The Tracker can actually, if you touch the person, you can track anyone in the game. And the Phantom, you can kill someone and then immediately turn invisible. So that's kind of crazy. It's available. The update's available right now if you want to check that out. Farmagia. This is coming the 1st of November. Command your monster army as you adventure through the dangerous lands of Felicidad in Farmagia. Coming to Nintendo Switch on November 1st. So this game is kind of interesting. You like grow your army with plants. So it's kind of like a mix of like a farming sim and Pokemon in a way, where you grow the farm of the various animals and then you lead them into battle. So it's kind of like an RTS as well, like a real-time strategy game. So it's a cool little marriage of the two ideas. I don't know if I'll be picking this up myself, but it is an interesting thing, kind of a unique experience from what I know. I mean, maybe there's someone out there who knows of another game like this, but from what I know, it seems to be pretty unique for the genre of farming sim / RTS there. All right, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is coming to the Switch on the 16th of January next year, 2025. The King of Kong Returns, originally released on the Wii. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is barely onto Nintendo Switch on January 16th. The cool thing is that the 80 levels in the base game are in there, along with the additional levels from the 3DS version, which is pretty cool. You can also join play in 2-player in local co-op, no online co-op though. And but I believe that they are going to be selling this for full price, which is kind of crazy in my opinion. I mean, I'm probably gonna buy it, but I don't think this HD thingamajig is worth maybe they're selling it for 50. 50 is not bad, but it's still a bit more than I would like to pay, honestly. But what you gonna do? It looks pretty good. I mean, I played this game a couple years ago for Donkey Kong December, and I had a really good time with it. Compared to like Tropical Freeze, it's right up there with with the greats of the Donkey Kong Country series. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available next year in January. I don't know if they kept in the motion controls or not. They didn't really show anything like that, but I'm guessing that there's options to either use the motion controls or just standard controls. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. This is coming the 14th of November. This is actually the first in the canon, or whatever you want to call it, the first in the story. And I was questioning that. I'm like, why are they doing the third one and then they're doing the first and second one? Well, it's because the third one is technically the first in the story. But yeah, they revealed Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, and then they also announced that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 were also being remade as well in the same engine. But they're going to start us off with the Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, and then we'll get the other ones down the road. Funko Fusion. Funko Fusion. This is that game that's going to combine all these various IPs that Funko owns, and probably the more cheaper ones that they own, that they're kind of mashing together into this like third-person shooter type thing. Explore diverse and colorful worlds, solve puzzles, and relive memorable moments from over 20 worlds of entertainment. Unlock and play with over 60 unique characters in an action game that is filled with uniquely authentic, irreverent humor from the creative minds of 1010 Games. So yeah, the game didn't look that great when they showed it off during the Nintendo Direct. This seems like one of those obligation kind of things, like, hey, we're doing this as a favor for you kind of things, because I don't know who the hell is going to be excited for Funko Fusion in the year 2024, but hey, it's coming around. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people covering it when it comes out, because it is one of those kind of games that's like kind of bizarre. It's weird, like what are we doing here? But I guess the coolest thing about the game was there was like a wall of Funko Pops, and the person was like scrolling through them. I guess that's like the one thing that's like, that's kind of cool, Like I can't deny that, I suppose. Of course, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD got a little trailer. That's still coming on the 27th of June. This one is definitely overpriced. It's $60. And they actually were refunding people on Amazon. Amazon was like refunding pre-orders for the game for some reason. I think they did the same thing with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. So if you pre-order this game on Amazon, you may want to check and make sure that it's still pre-ordered. They didn't really show anything like obviously like the lighting looks better and like the characters models look better, but they didn't really show anything off. And I'm guessing that it's because there's not much done to this game. I think it's just been ported over and it's got an up-res. I don't think they did like a remaster, gave it like the true remaster experience. I mean, obviously it's making a 3DS game into a, like a Switch game, which is a feat in itself. Personally though, I mean, I know how long this game is. I think it's like a 10 to 15 hour game or something like that, not even. And they're trying to, I mean, they're selling it for $60. Definitely will wait for a sale for this one if I ever decide to get it. I wasn't a huge fan of Luigi's Mansion 3, as you may or may not know. Even though I enjoyed my time with it, it was a bit of a frustrating experience for me. I guess, I don't know. I guess I just wasn't vibing with it when I played it back in the day. But we'll see. Maybe if this goes down to like $30, that's when I'll try it out. The new Denpa Men. So I was watching a video talking about the Direct, and I think it was Arlo who said that Denpa Men was like an old series that was on like the DS or something like that, where you could go online and battle people with your Denpa Men. I have no clue what this game is, though. I mean, it kind of looked like Animal Crossing again, where you're building your area around. It's very weird. It's a very weird game. It's an RPG where you can adventure with people like your friends. Unlike other RPGs, your adventure companions aren't in the game; they are all around you. So I think it was like a DS or 3DS game where. Yeah, I guess you linked up systems and people could like join you in your adventure, kind of like that game that came on the 3DS. I forget what it was called. But there you go. You can fish, build your base, and do so much more. Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. This is actually released across multiple platforms: Steam, Switch. I think it was on PS5 as well. As you know, I'm a big Metal Slug fan, so I picked this up. It's like $10. And this is it's a tower. It's kind of like a tower defense game. You defend your base while also attacking the other person's base or the other AI's base. And of course, you choose your units, upgrade your units. You have to it's kind of like Plants vs Zombies, kind of, where you have to wait for your money to grow, and then you can purchase a new unit, and you can upgrade your the amount of money you get by upgrading your the person who's carrying the money, I guess. It uses all the assets from Metal Slug in like this tower defense kind of game. It's all right. It's a pretty lengthy game for $10 though. You definitely get your money's worth, but the levels really do all seem the same. It's just a different backdrop from all the different games. Like the first couple of levels is all from Metal Slug 1. And then the next couple of levels is the first part of Metal Slug 2 where you're in like Africa, and then the next part of it where you're in the subterranean base and all. They're just cherry picking these like locations, these backdrops, and just kind of plopping the two bases down, and then you spawn units in between and they attack each other. Is it amazing? No, it's I believe this game was originally on the phone, and it definitely shows as well. But for what it's worth, it's kind of fun, but I don't know how much of it I'm gonna be playing really. Darkest Dungeon 2, the official release on Switch, comes out July 15th. I don't know if we already knew that or not. I forget either way. This is a roguelite turn-based action game where it's like a gothic type theming to it. People kind of relate it to Bloodborne sometimes with it's a bit hardcore, you're trying to keep your units alive. If they die, they're dead for good, kind of like your XCOM games. So if you want to check that out, once again, July 15th for Darkest Dungeon 2. Four additional games are coming to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. There are 2 N64 games and 2 Game Boy Advance games. The N64 games are both M-rated games, so now officially the mature 17 plus N64 store or whatever is now officially in the West. It was only in Japan for some time because GoldenEye in Japan was rated M or whatever is the 18 or 17 plus. In America though, it was rated T for teen. Which Callus let me know in my stream that it was rated T in America, and I didn't know that because I just assumed because the version in Japan is 18 plus. Why wouldn't the one in America be the same thing? I guess not. But now we do officially have the 17 plus Nintendo Switch expansion pack N64 option on the system. Because we got Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Perfect Dark. These are two, I believe both of those games were M-rated when they came out on the N64. Turok, it's the dinosaur hunting game. Y'all know it, y'all love it. I suppose you may love it. It's a first-person shooter. And then Perfect Dark, a lot of people are saying it doesn't play like super amazing on the system. But it's Perfect Dark was a pretty... I mean, it took that formula of GoldenEye with like the objectives and stuff like that, and it really fleshed it out. And of course, Xbox showed off the new Perfect Dark coming out in the future. Obviously, it's leagues different than this N64 version, but it is cool to see this game and be able to play it now on the Switch hardware. I believe before this, it was only available to play in the Rare Replay, and that was only available on console. So now, if you have a Switch and you have the expansion pass service, you can try out Perfect Dark on the N64. For the GBA, we got The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past 4 Swords. This does allow online play or solo play if you so desire. And then Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake or whatever of the original Metroid game, which I believe this is like the first time since like the Wii virtual console that we've seen this one. Maybe the Wii U. But I believe I would much rather play this Metroid Zero Mission than the original Metroid. That's just personal preference for me. But if you want to check either of those games out, they're available on the Game Boy Advance Switch thingamajiggy. Pretty cool. Phantom Brave: The Lost Heroes. This is coming in 2025. This is a RPG adventure which offers a gridless tactical turn-based challenge. Utilize the confine system to recruit phantoms, binding them to objects on the map for unique advantages. Unleash potent attacks with confine, merging phantoms with cannons and other gadgets. When all else fails, execute Marona's special Confriend ability and for the show-stopping abilities that will turn the tide of battle. Yeah, I kind of zoned out during this show. I'm not like super interested in it, but that's coming in 2025. Here's a doozy. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics is coming out in 2024. This is the first ever re-release of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I believe Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was never published anywhere else other than its original hardware. So a lot of people are very excited about that. This was a pretty hype thing, though. We have a bunch of games coming in a collection. There will be a physical version of the game coming out as well. This is coming out later this year. X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighters, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, and The Punisher. You can play online co-op with The Punisher or online with the Marvel vs. Capcom games. Pretty cool. There's been additional enhancements across the collection, including custom match and spectator features, the museum, a music player, various display filters, and a one-button special move input, and more. So if you want to check this out, like I said, it's coming out later this year. Not sure exactly when. This is definitely going to be a pickup for me. And even bigger announcement, Super Mario Party Jamboree. This is the sequel to Super Mario Party that was which is still one of the best-selling Switch games on the console. They went in a different direction than the Super Mario or the Mario Party Superstars game, where they are building off of that original concept with the Joy-Con instead of it being more of a traditional Mario Party. But they did bring back regular boards, which is great. There's actually more boards in this than I remember being in a couple of Mario games. So 7 boards in total, 5 brand new ones, 2 returning, one of them from the original Mario Party and the other from Mario Party 2. There's going to be like 110 mini games, which is crazy. Most of them new, they said. You'll be able to play the game with a Joy-Con, of course. Some mini games will require some motion control, but not as much as the original Super Mario Party game. And you'll be able to also join up with 20 players in a head-to-head online Koopathon mode, which is pretty stinking cool too. Everything that they showed off in the trailer looked great. I loved what I saw. I'm very excited for Mario Party. This is probably going to be one of the better Mario Parties that's come out in like the past couple of years now. I mean, the last good Mario Party, besides from Superstars, which is a good Mario Party 2, but the last like a new one that we got was probably Mario Party 9 back on the Wii, and before that, I would say the best one was like Mario Party 6 since then. But yeah, I'm very excited to try this out or play this. This comes out on October 17th, if you want to check that out. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So this was another really big announcement. We're getting a new 2D, like top-down Legend of Zelda game. But you're not playing as Link. You are actually playing as Zelda. Princess Zelda will have to save Hyrule. And they said, to quote them, to show off Zelda's wisdom, she's getting this staff that can copy and paste things in the environment. So you can copy and paste beds as for platforms or tables to jump on. And you can also, after defeating an enemy, copy and paste the enemy to the field that you've defeated, and they will fight by your side. It's a really cool concept. It's pretty much Tears of the Kingdom in 2D. It's also got that chibi style from the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake or remaster. If you didn't like that style, then you know they chose the same thing for this one. I was kind of expecting that though, if they were going to do a new 2D adventure game. But this looks really cool. I did enjoy Link's Awakening, the remake, so I don't see why I wouldn't like this. I mean, it seems like it's an even cooler concept where you can really start to mess around with the game world with all these different ways to do things. And I think that was one of the things that they said is they really wanted to let players get through the game, explore at their own pace, do whatever they want in the game, which gives them, which gives players obviously, not everyone's going to play the game the same way like they do with, Link's Awakening or something like that. And they also showed off that a new Hyrule Edition Nintendo Switch Lite will be available on the 26th of September, which is the same day that the game comes out. So if you're looking for that one last piece in your collection for your Zelda collection, this might be it. It's pretty cool. It's a completely gold looking Switch Lite with black buttons, and then on the back is the Triforce with some wings around it. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty cool. If I needed a Switch, this one wouldn't be too bad to pick up. Just Dance 2025. It's another year, another Just Dance game. Seems to always, even when they do like that Just Dance Plus thing where you can like get unlimited songs, they still got to put out another physical game because that's where the money is, right? But Just Dance 2025 is coming October 2024. It's coming to Nintendo Switch, and I think it's also coming like the PlayStation and Xbox and stuff as well. There was like a bunch of songs that they were showing off in the trailer. One of them was a Green Day song. I think it was Basket Case, which was kind of interesting against all the other pop songs that were on there. But there's apparently 40 hot new songs from pop hits to family favorites. So there you go. Callus, he loves Just Dance. He did it. He played it on stream once upon a time. Apparently, this is just going to be a code in a box, which is kind of disappointing there. Definitely kind of disappointing there. Lego Horizon Adventures. They showed this here. Of course, they're going to show this here because obviously this is the first PlayStation game or PlayStation published game that's coming to the Switch. I mean, it didn't show anything different from the Summer Games Fest, so there's not much to say there. But pretty cool to see this in a Nintendo Direct. Stray is finally coming over to the Switch in holiday of 2024. If you don't know what this is, you play as a stray cat who goes through like this crazy, fucked up neo like sci-fi city where all the humans have died out, and there's like a parasite running around. There's robots everywhere. It's a pretty good game. It wasn't like one of my favorites of the year, but it was definitely like a pretty fun adventure. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. This is coming out in winter 2024. They just revealed that it's coming to Switch. They did the whole thing. This is a Hobbit life sim game where you make your own Hobbit hole and run around Hobbiton. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are excited about this, but for me personally, not really my thing. I would rather be slicing the heads off of orcs as Frodo or something instead of, making my own Hobbit town. Maybe if they threw in like, okay, you make your Hobbit town home and stuff like that, and then Saruman comes in with Grima Wormtongue, and they do the sacking of the Shire. No, I guess not. All right. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. This is coming the 6th of September, 2024. Miles Edgeworth moves beyond the courtroom and straight to the crime scene in Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, featuring 2 remastered titles: Ace Attorney Investigation Miles Edgeworth and the Western debut of Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutor's Gambit. So, yeah, the second game was never originally released in America, so that'll be pretty cool to be able to play for people who missed out on that one. These are like spin-offs of the Ace Attorney series, so instead of it being like a courtroom drama, you're actually out in the field getting the deductions and the clues and stuff for the case, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool twist on that. So if you want to check that out, like I said, it comes out the 6th of September. The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. This is coming in 2025. This is from the same studio that brought us Danganronpa, I'm pretty sure, right? I believe. Takumi Sumino has a unique requirement at the Last Defense Academy: defend the school from hostile student enemies for 100 days. So yeah, it's I think it's like an action game. I don't remember exactly what it's all about, but I do remember it's by the same people as Danganronpa. I do believe that an article came out recently that this game actually put the company into a bit of a situation. They need you to buy this game or else they're going to be going under, which is always a weird thing to ask your fans to do. Like, hey, if you don't buy this, then we're fucked. But I don't know if they're actually fucked, but it did come out that they were losing money with this game, so we'll see what happens. Romancing Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven comes out October 24th. This is a non-linear RPG, which was originally released in 1993 in Japan, and it's making its return. It's this game's first full remake. The freeform scenario system offers a vast array of story experiences in responses to your choices, and with the Imperial Succession system, you can select your main character from many playable protagonists to cultivate and expand your legacy, passing down power, skills, and secrets to the next generation. If that looks cool to you, that'll be out the 24th of October, like I said. And then the big final reveal was a pretty big one. After, I don't know, how many years? 6, 7, 8 years? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond was revealed. A lot of people were confused, like, is this the Metroid Prime 2 remake or whatever? And then no, they revealed that it is Metroid Prime 4. It starts the little bit of gameplay that we saw. Samus lands on a planet and she's fighting off pirates at this base, and then a dude who kind of looks like the guy from Dark Void. I'm pretty sure he's Silux. He's making a return. I believe he is actually from the second game, I'm pretty sure, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't played them, but I'm just going off of what I heard. They showed off, obviously, locking on the enemies, shooting missiles, and also going into the morph ball, but I'm sure there'll be many more things to do. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good for running on a Switch, and it's possible that this is running on the Switch too, or maybe there's like a cross-gen version. Who knows? But it looks pretty good. I'm very excited for this. Very bombastic. I do hope that they release Metroid Prime 2 and 3, like remaster or whatever, onto the Switch so that I can catch up with the series. Because the only game that I played was Metroid Prime, and I played a little bit of Dread, of course, and Metroid Prime 2, or not Metroid Prime 2, Metroid 2, back in, whenever I played that. And, I need to fill in the blanks of the story, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same boat as me. So hopefully, sooner rather than later, maybe during the Winter Direct, if there is one, they'll say, like, hey, Metroid Prime 2 is coming out at early 2025, and Metroid Prime 3 Remake is coming out late 2025. I'm pretty sure they said that this was going to be coming out in 2025 as well, so we'll see when the actual reveal date is, and probably some more gameplay in the next couple directs. But as of right now, it's nice to see it's still alive and well and in development, and very exciting there. So yeah, let me know what your favorite reveal of the show was. I am kind of leaning towards Super Mario Party, Jamboree. I don't know, for some reason that just really lit up my day. But Metroid Prime 4 is obviously a really big one in there, as well as the new Mario and Luigi game, of course. But a lot of cool stuff. Donkey Kong HD collection, and yeah, pretty cool. Love that. Also the Marvel collection as well. Also, it's pretty interesting to note they showed off a Link, the Legend of Zelda game and the Metroid game coming to the Switch Online service, and then not too long after that, they revealed that both those games were coming around. So yeah, this was a pretty good direct. I'm like at a B plus. But then again, it's like the things that they revealed in here were so good. I want to say an A, but I don't know. There was a lot of like stuff in there that kind of dragged slowed the show down a little bit, that weren't really that interesting or whatever. So I might stick with like a B plus on this one. But yeah, really good. Really enjoyed that. And let me know what you thought in the comments below. Also, this week, Limited Run Games had a showcase. Their Limited Run Games 3 showcase. And the video itself was pretty fun that they put together. And the announcement they had were also pretty good. So they started off with Dark Forces Remaster is going to be getting a physical edition. You can pre-order that starting on June 21st. Obviously, I talked about Dark Forces Remaster a while ago, so if you want to check out what I thought of that game, you can run back to that episode. Valis, the Phantom Soldier Collection 3. This is coming physically in summer 2024. The side-scrolling Bishoujo action game series Valis, which was first revealed in the 80s, first released in the 80s and gained popularity, celebrated its 35th anniversary in December 2021. In commemoration of this, 3 of the series' most popular titles, the Phantom Soldier, Valis 2, and Valis 3, have been completely ported to the Nintendo Switch. Rain World. This is coming physically in 2024 as well. Climb through the ruins of an ancient civilization, evade the jaws of vicious predators, and discover new lands teeming with strange creatures and buried mysteries. Fighting Force Collection. This is coming in 2025 physically, I believe. This is a brawler, I suppose. Callus was pretty excited about this one. You and up to 3 friends have a simple 4-step strategy. Break things, get weapons, and use those weapons to pummel people, and repeat as needed. It's a straightforward street-side carnage with a 3D flair coming to your home in 2025 physically. I believe you can also get it digitally as well during the time. Renane. This is coming physical in the fall of 2024. It's a cute and colorful game about an immortal knight on a quest through the world of gorgeously animated characters with ridiculous problems. The OST is pretty good in this one as well. This was also announced for Switch a few years ago, but Limited Run Games has confirmed it will be handling the physical version of the game. Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus. When this game was originally released for the Switch, most of the game had to be downloaded onto the Switch's hard drive or SD card, whatever you have. But they promised that they are doing a new version of the game. The physical version will be completely on the cartridge. There will not be a code in the box or a major download to do. So if you want to check that out, that'll be coming in 2024. Cosmic Fantasy Collection 2. Cosmic Fantasy Collection 2 will include the following 3 titles. Cosmic Fantasy 3, Bokun Shonen Rai. Cosmic Fantasy 4, Ginga Shonen Densu, Tasunyu Hen, Densutsu no Prelude. That's all one game. Cosmic Fantasy 4, Ginga Shunen Densu Gito Hen Hikari no Uchu no Naka D. And I will let you all sit with that pronunciation for a little while here. G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra. This is coming physically in 2025. Yo Joe, Cobra returns once again with its most fiendish plot yet, and it's up to G.I. Joe to defeat them once more. Pick one of the real American heroes, gear up, and get straight into the fight in this retro side-scrolling beat-em-up, and make Cobra retreat yet again. This is coming 2025, like I said. Assault Suit Linos 2 Saturn Tribute. This is coming fall of 2024. Master your Assault Suit. It's like a mech game. Our friends at Clear River Games are bringing the robot anime heat in Assault Suit Linos 2 later this year. That's coming PS4 and Switch. Snow Bros Wonderland. This is coming in 2024. A brand new Snow Bros adventure. The brothers come back to defend Snowland later this year with physical editions in the works. Gimmick 2 coming 2024. Yuma Taro is back. Embark on a sparkling journey in this long-awaited sequel to Sunsoft's legendary NES platformer Gimmick. Solve puzzles, trick enemies, and explore a physics-based playground. Limited Run Games announced that they are doing a physical edition of Penny's Big Breakaway. If you don't know what this is, it's a 3D physics-based platformer by the same people who did Sonic Mania. So you can now, I suppose you'll be able to pre-order it soon, but there will be a physical edition coming in 2024. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition. This is coming the 25th of June, 2024. Embark on the epic adventure in up to 4K 60 FPS with improved graphics, controls, and audio. Explore the Anniversary Gallery and discover more about Jade's childhood in the new treasure hunt. This was accidentally revealed earlier this year. I remember talking about it. It was a pretty big news story. If you don't know what Good and Evil is, it's a pretty classic, cult classic kind of game. Adventure game. The physical editions will be coming the 12th of July, but the digital version will be on the 25th of June. Toxic Crusaders, they are getting a physical edition of the game from Limited Run Games. There is no date for this one other than 2024. If you don't know what this one is, it's a TMNT-inspired side-scrolling beat-em-up featuring the Toxic Crusaders. Here was an interesting one. Hitman Blood Money Reprisal. This is like an HD re-release of the game coming in fall of 2024. The physical version will be coming in 2024 as well. Featuring gameplay improvements inspired by later games in the series, Reprisal is an artful redesign of a stealth action classic, expertly adapted for Nintendo Switch. I believe this one originally came out on the PS2, if I'm not mistaken. Fear Effect. Coming in 2025, a lost classic finally returns. Fear Effect challenged assumptions on game aesthetics and art style when it debuted on PlayStation, and decades later, its extraordinary blend of cel shading and motion video still dazzles the eye and the mind. Gunplay and magic meet in this groundbreaking action adventure coming to consoles near you in 2025. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is getting a physical edition in 2025 as well. The cover of the game has the main character in like this weird arching position. She's definitely going to have a hunch in her back when she gets older if she keeps doing her posture like that. But Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is a remake of the cult classic Lollipop Chainsaw from 2012, which came out on like the 360 and PS3 era, from Suda51, I'm pretty sure. Repop is the definitive version of the game, which leaves the story unchanged with a focus on quality of life improvements and additional gameplay content. So the first trailer was revealed last week, and now we know that the physical edition is coming in August. The game's releasing in summer, and the game... the physical version of the game is coming in August along... Okay, whatever. Fuck it. You can actually wishlist a copy of the game right now. Pre-orders will be available on... I'm not sure when it'll be available on. Soon, just as soon. The ship date is estimated to be December 1st through 31st. If you can't wait, you can also get it digitally. Double Shake coming in 2025. Grab a shake, throw, and kick to save your island from total chaos in an action-packed Blast of the Past 2.5D platformer inspired by some of your favorite 5th generation games. We talked about this one, I think, last week or the week before that during the Summer Games Fest stuff. It's pretty much like Klonoa. But obviously it's a modern game. Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. We've heard about this one for quite some time. It's finally coming around in August this year. There is a physical version coming out as well. You can toggle between the 8-bit and HD art, select your favorite baby, and play in this neo-retro platformer. You can play solo or with a friend in 2-player co-op. The Gex Trilogy, officially coming in 2024 now. There wasn't a release date before, but the Gex Trilogy had some gameplay in there. I mean, obviously it looks pretty good from what you want from a Gex trilogy of games. This is going to include Gex from 1995, Gex Enter the Gecko, and Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. We tried to play a Gex game on the PS1. I think it was the original Gex game, but my disc was bad, so we couldn't play through the game. So maybe with this new edition, I'll be able to actually come around and play the game on stream. That'll be pretty nice. Shantae Advance Risky Revolution. This is the lost game that was completed and whatnot. The physical version of the game will be coming in 2025. Ninja 5-0. This is coming out on July 5th, 2024. Physically, uphold justice with fierce ninjutsu moves and carbon engine technology. Pre-orders for physical and collector's edition will be on July 5th. Clock Tower Rewind had a bit of a thingamajig going on. I've talked about this one so many times at this point. Yeah. Tomba Special Edition. This is going to be available August 1st. At the end of the showcase for Tomba, the creator of the Tomba series said, "Hey, we're doing the same thing for Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Returns." So, be ready for that when that comes around eventually, which is pretty cool. And then the final thing that they did was Bubsy in the Perfect Collection coming in 2025. Bubsy will be back in the Carbon Engine collection of classic capers. Bubsy in the Perfect Collection releases digitally and physically in 2025. I'm not sure what games are a part of it. They did not show what games even in the trailer. I'm going to guess that's Bubsy 1, 2 at least. But there's a couple of Bubsy games out there, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Very excited for. I mean, I'm pretty excited for most of the stuff that they showed off. I would definitely like to get the physical version of like Lollipop Chainsaw and stuff like that, and Good and Evil, Beyond Good and Evil. I don't know if I want to wait to play them though. I guess Lollipop Chainsaw I could probably wait. I played that one a bit, a few times on the Xbox 360. Also, it was when a person who I was a fan of. It was one of his favorite games, and he unfortunately passed away this past week. I was a pretty big fan of him. He's hilarious. He worked with YMS a lot. Your Movie Sucks a lot. Scott Henson. Big wrestling fan, big wrestling junkie. He also loves Suda51 games, and this was one of his favorites. So, just maybe in honor of him, I might pick up this physically as well. So, there you go. I thought the limited run game showcase was pretty good. I'm not going to give it a rating because obviously a lot of this stuff we already knew about. They were just reconfirming stuff or giving release dates for stuff. But yeah, I thought it was pretty fun, and I would suggest checking it out yourself if you want to check out what happened. What was going on. Limited run games. They do a good job of bringing like those retro games back around, giving them physical editions. There's so many games out there that wouldn't have even seen the light of day ever again if it wasn't for them. So I do appreciate that they do that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to what have I been playing this past week. All right, to start us off, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. I mean, everyone's playing this right now. My people who are live on Twitch, I have a you go onto the Twitch homepage and it shows you all the people who are live. There's just everyone and their mother is playing Elden Ring right now. Let me count here. Let me count the ways. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on my list who are live right now are playing Elden Ring. Yeah, that's par for the course. Elden Ring's gotten a bit of a resurgence in people playing it. Of course, Kai Cenat was playing it, and people were loving his playthrough. A lot of other big time Twitch people out there. I have been playing the game. Some of them, it's like their first Souls game ever. They usually play like Call of Duty and stuff like that. So it's nice. I mean, it's interesting to see them, try and play like a Souls game after they've been playing like Valorant or Call of Duty for their entire streaming careers. So it's cool that they're these people are broadening their gaming lives, I guess. But yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree dropped, and as I said before, I was ready for the DLC. I was like level 170. I had my build exactly the way that I wanted it, and I was testing it out on the later game bosses in the base game, and I was like, "Yep, this is gonna be good. We can enjoy the DLC without too much frustration because we'll be nice and leveled and ready to go." And my old build, yes, my old build, I've already changed it, was 2 great swords with frost damage, or frost buildup, and of course I tried to make myself as robust as I could, so I couldn't be, when I do attacks, I couldn't be disrupted or anything like that, and it was hard to, I had a ton of stamina, a ton of health. It's how I usually play Souls games, very tanky. And as soon as I started up Shadow of the Erdtree and I went up against the first side boss, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to change this up. What I've noticed in the DLC is that the enemies don't give you a lot of time to recover from your attacks. Like, they give you the opening, sure, but they don't really, they don't give you the time to oh, you just did a jumping attack? Okay, well, I'm gonna attack you 3 times in a row. And of course I was I was playing with kind of loosey-goosey, so I didn't have a shield or anything like that. I just had the 2 great swords, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who can play like that. They become dodge masters and whatever, and I do a pretty good job of dodging when I want to, or after I go up against the boss a couple times. But what I wanted to do was change up my build so that I could be hard hitting while also inflicting that blood loss. But I also needed to negate the copious amounts of magic damage that every single enemy seems to do, and some of them do holy damage. And I think they decided to give a lot of the enemies magic damage because there's so many people who do have builds like mine where it's like, okay, well, you're going to be weak against magic because you don't have anything on. So I wanted to do something to negate that as well. So the first side boss, that's literally you go to the left and he's just down the road and inside of a crypt, and there's a side boss there. He was a good test for the new build that I wanted to do, and I died 10, 15 times to him before I finally got him. He was pretty tough. He was surprisingly tough for a side boss, which kind of is par for the course with From Software DLCs. It's obviously going to be much more difficult than the base game, whether it be Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, even Dark Souls 2. And so what I decided to do is I put on the big Erdtree shield, which blocks a good amount of magic and holy damage. And then in my other hand, I put the Gaia wheel or whatever it is. It's the wheel that the Iron Maiden type things use, the whatever they're called. They use, and it's actually really good at causing blood loss buildup. It has 75 blood loss buildup, and even though it swings pretty slow, it has an R2 attack that revs it up so it does multiple hits at the same time, and it seems to do a pretty good job of stunning them or giving them the blood loss in a timely manner. So I can switch to double-handing that or using the shield whenever I need to because I'm so strong. I built my character to be a freaking tank. He's very strong. So that's kind of what I did, and then a couple of tries later, I ended up beating the side boss, and they gave me a nice set of armor that I used the helmet on. And then I continued on my journey, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because obviously there's a lot of people who are just starting out. They want to go in blind. Everyone and their mother is playing it right now, so I'm sure that if you if you listen to this, I won't spoil anything in the early game for you at all. I played about 6 or so hours today, and it's obviously hard to determine how far that is actually in the game because my 6 hours, I could have gone a completely different direction than someone else, obviously. There are a few dead ends here and there, but there is one area, or there's one section that's like, you can go 3 different ways, and they all lead you to, like, different places, and you can be stuck in those places for a long time. So it's really cool that they gave you, I wouldn't say maybe more freedom, but this about the same amount of freedom as the original game, just on a smaller scale, where it's like instead of because at the beginning of Elden Ring, you start off in Limgrave and you can go to the place at the bottom of the map with like on Misbegotten, right? Or you can go to Caelid if you really so desire. You can go straight to Caelid and start working in there, or you can go up through Limgrave and into the Lakes of Lenaria. It's really up to you what you want to do. And this is just kind of on a smaller scale here because the map size, it is about roughly the size of what Limgrave is, plus maybe a bit of Caelid and obviously the whole bottom part of the map. So it is a pretty sizable area. But it's a much more condensed thing where it's like, yeah, there's still plenty of area to ride and roam around. There's some areas that you feel like there should be something there, but there's just nothing there, right? But it does give you like the same kind of thing where it's like, okay, you can go to the left and there is a kind of like that Godric Castle type thing. Before you get to Godric the Grafted, there's like that whole castle. It kind of has that vibe to it. And on the left, if you go straight forward, you go through like this fortress, and there's all these soldiers, and there's a boss at the end of it, which was really difficult. I died the most of that boss so far. And then there's another way that you can go through that's through like a burnt area, and there's a burnt village there, and there's some stuff to get. And most of the ways, like some of the ways, just end up in a dead end, like I said, or there's something you need to do before you can go further. I'm very surprised with how much fun I'm having with it. Because by the time I was done with Elden Ring on my original playthrough, I was trying to do a New Game Plus run, and I was getting bored because it was just the same enemies, the same bosses. There was so many catacombs to explore. And this DLC is definitely much more meticulously made in a way where it's like it's not just the same enemies throughout the entire area you go through. Like, sure, there's some enemies who pop back up, of course. When don't they? But the bosses so far have been pretty unique. The enemies have all been new enemies, not from the base game, other than like the dogs or whatever. Even like the soldiers have a new moveset and new weapons, and there's like these new like scorpion spider creatures that are fucking creepy as hell. I hate those things. And there's a couple of new like regular kind of like wandering enemies who are like really weak, but they can gang up on you. They're like these shadowy black figures that kind of gang up on you, and I like that. I like they put so much work into it to make it a unique kind of thing, because this is like a separate area compared to like because the base game is like the light. Everyone loves the light. In Shadow of the Erdtree, it's like, okay, but the darkness, like, heyo, I don't want to give too much away, of course, but there was a couple of boss fights that I've done so far that I really, really enjoyed, which is a lot. I mean, I do. There are a lot of boss fights that I like in Elden Ring. Don't get me wrong, but the main problem with Elden Ring was like, okay, you fought like the gargoyle twins, but there's like 15 other gargoyles in the game, or like 100 other gargoyles in the game, right? You fought the fucking the mariner who's on the boat, but there's like 3 of those in the game, so it's like it doesn't have the same impact. But when you fight the bosses in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, they have more impact because you didn't fight like 5 of the same enemy coming to that point, or you don't fight them afterwards. They are a unique boss fight in the game. Of course, I'm not all the way through it, so I don't know 100%, but it just seems that way. It just seems like, hey, we got these unique, really cool boss fights, these really bombastic boss fights, and we're not going to be fighting the same enemy later in the game. I liken Elden Ring to Dark Souls 2, where it's like, okay, you get the boss fight, and now you fight the regular version of that boss again, it's down the road. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that way. I hope it's not like that way. And if it is, of course, I'll let you all know. But for me personally, it's just a breath of fresh air when you face an enemy who's so unique and so deadly, and you do get that win, and it just feels so good, right? Whereas with Elden Ring, you fight, uh, the troll inside of that one cave. It's just the same troll as any other open world troll, right? So the one boss that I fought that gave me the most grief, probably about 25 deaths. I think her name was Relana or something like that, Relena, and she had like this really cool mid-phase, like mid-fight transition where her weapons, one of the weapons did like fire damage, and the other weapon did frost damage. So it was this really cool like dance of colors while she was fighting. It was very scary, of course, and your shield doesn't really do much against like the magic attacks, but yeah, it was one of those fights that was just really cool, really awesome. There was another fight that is pretty early on. That the guy had like this crossbow that was like a repeating crossbow, and he would shoot that off like so quickly you'd have to really you would have to really predict when he was about to do it. But he also had like this great sword that did magic damage as well. That was crazy good. There's a couple like mini bosses around the world too that were just kind of walking around the area, kind of like your regular like invasion kind of characters. One of them was this guy with like the beast like hands or whatever they called it, which is like a new weapon in the game. The fight wasn't like super memorable, but the weapon itself was pretty cool to acquire. There was another one later on that was like this guy was like he had like fire attacks. He had like all these different fire attacks. It was pretty cool. And there was another boss that I really enjoyed. I really liked the design of it. I thought that was a really great boss fight. It was called like the Dancing Lion or something like that. And it was kind of, of course, it was very much similar to like those, like the in like Chinese festivities. There's like the dragons that open and close their mouth. The people like they have like a bunch of people inside the costume and they dance around as the dragon, right? It was kind of like a lion in this case, and it was a really cool fight. It really. It was really fantastic. I really enjoyed fighting that boss. It's too bad I only did it in like 3 goes because I really was enjoying like just watching the animation on the character. But yeah, at this point I'm past like the first part of the DLC, and that includes all the 3 different ways that you can go. So now I'm into a new open area, and the enemies are seemingly getting stronger as I go on still. The nice thing about the DLC is you can find these little like shards or whatever for both your summons and yourself, and they actually level you up all your stats in the DLC. So you can actually go around and find those and make the boss fights a little bit easier, because when you start off you have 0, and you find maybe 1 or 2 in the open world before getting to the first boss or whatever. But once you get more, of course, it'll help you out in the long run, especially if you use like the mimic tier, the Ashen one. That really helps too in the long run because your mimic tier can last longer. And they definitely changed up the game to make sure, like, okay, if you're using the mimic tier, we're gonna make it really like we're gonna have the enemies like attack you right away, so you have to really find a space to use it in, right? There was one fight that was at the bottom of this cave that had a bunch of like those jar enemies at the bottom of it, and it was really cool. Like it had some platforming in there, had some cool stuff in there, and like the enemy, like I went through the fog wall and the enemy just immediately like charged at me, and I was like, oh shit, I don't have time to do any of my setup here that I want to do. And of course, you find ways to get stuff off, but it's one of those more intense things, and sometimes you get that good RNG where the enemy doesn't like immediately attack you. But yeah, so far the DLC has kept me on my toes, which is more than I can ask for my New Game Plus run of Elden Ring itself. Even the boss fight with Moog was a bit unsatisfying because I was just so overleveled by the time that I got to him on my New Game Plus run, even that it just was kind of like, okay, well, that was that, and then you move on to the next thing. And so far it's been great. I've been enjoying my time with it. I obviously need to play more before I am 100% sure of it, but so far it's been exactly what I wanted in the DLC. There isn't just copy paste bosses and stuff like that so far. The only boss fight that I've encountered that is similar to one from the original game is a dragon fight, but the dragon itself is actually pretty unique in a way where it shoots Death Flame 1, and 2, all of its innards are open. So it's like, so sometimes when it breathes fire, it breathes out of its chest, which is a pretty cool and unique thing based on, all the dragons in the base game kind of work the same. This one is a little bit different. It's also much more tankier. There's also this like giant burning man at the start of the DLC. There's a couple of them laced throughout the DLC, of course, but I don't know how I'm going to take that thing down yet. The damage you do to it is just so minimal, and it's probably going to take forever to chip away at it. I feel like there's something that I'm missing, but I just don't know what to do yet. But if you take it down, good work. Let me know what you did, because even with my best build, I could not. It just took too long. The battle of endurance was not in my favor there. So, but anyway, it's really good so far. It's been a great time. I can't wait to play more. So far, the bosses have been exceptional, which is all I really wanted from this DLC to begin with. And I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to play more. So we'll see how the rest of it goes. I also played and I finished Still Wakes the Deep. This is the oil platform horror game where the oil stations drills into something kind of supernatural, and it releases like this fleshy kind of web around the station that infects people, and boom bada bing, it's you gotta fight to survive, and you gotta fight to try and not fight, but you gotta try and make sure that the oil rig doesn't sink and all that good stuff. I think that an oil rig itself is a great place or a great location for a horror game. I think that in general, like, oil rigs are kind of spooky in general. Like, even just like seeing pictures of one, like, just kind of out there in the ocean, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, that thing is floating on some pontoons under the water there. Like, I don't know about this one. And of course, that uneasiness is baked into this game because a lot of it is like, the pontoon is flooded, you need to get through that thing, and it's like, okay, we're really going into it. Like, they really did a lot of research into the layout of a oil rig platform, which is commendable because it really does feel authentic as you're going through these corridors, these industrial pipes everywhere, and all this metal everywhere, and there's all this machinery, and it's just kind of unnerving in general. Kind of like how Soma is kind of like that futuristic, like, dystopian, unnerving kind ofness to it. But this one is obviously more realistic in the way because it is like an oil platform. But yeah, you play as this Scottish guy named Kaz, and you go to the oil rig to make some money and actually escape some law enforcement. And of course, that comes back around to bite you in the ass. So the day that you start playing the game, you're fired. But immediately as you're getting fired, the drill hits whatever is in the bottom of the sea and starts the whole catastrophe. So the majority of the game is kind of walking around, really, in all honesty. Like, there's some things you have to do, obviously, like you have to power up a fuse box or crawl across a beam or whatever, but for the most part it is really just like, okay, we're moving forward, or swimming forward in some cases as well. And I was really hoping that the game would be more Outlast-ish in that way, where it's a bit more quick and not as like ho-hum walkie kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the game really could have done better if it was more of like an open, like, you can explore the oil rig and you go to these different areas to do things at your own leisure, or like, quickly as you can. It is the game is set up more like a straightforward story where it's like, okay, you can only, all these doors are locked around you except for the one in the path where you need to go, and it's fine for what it is, but I was really hoping to have like a big open, like, you can explore the entire oil rig and you do things on the oil rig, but they do cone you into different places that you need to be, which is not an entirely bad thing. I mean, I don't know how I would feel if it was an open world, but I think that it would be nice to be able to explore the oil rig on your own at your own speed, and make the game pace a little bit quicker, not having to stop every so often and do some quick time events or or stuff like that. But I understand, it takes a lot more work to make this a big open world, and there's a bunch of there's a bunch of monsters that of course you need to dodge while you're going through the oil rig too. So I guess designing making sure you keep track of every single monster and whatever, it might get a bit taxing on the development team. And for what it's worth, I like what the game's going for. I like the idea of the game. It's if you just a baseline thing here, it's the Thing meets Deepwater Horizon, pretty much. that is pretty much it. And if that's all you want to hear about from the game, move on to the next chapter in the podcast. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about it since I played a lot more of it. So, in general, I did enjoy the game. I thought it was pretty good, but it wasn't as spooky or as nerve-wracking as I wanted it to be. Something like Outlast really gets your nerves going. They really pour it on. I mean, the fact that you have to look through that little camera and you got to hide in these places real quickly, and the enemies are very aggressive. It really keeps you on your toes. Really, makes you nervous. Same thing with Soma. I mean, even though I didn't enjoy Soma as much as the original Outlast, I think that Soma is still a great horror experience at its core. And it does give you those moments where it's like, okay, something like really loud and scary is chasing you, and it's right behind you, right? Whereas in Still Wakes the Deep, like you do have those moments where like you're hiding from the monster or whatever, but it just feels a little bit more goofy because of the way that the monster is designed. It has like these tentacles that jut out of it and walk around, and it's just kind of goofy and kind of. It's just not a frightening thing, and you really can't look directly at it. If you look directly at it, then your light flickers on your helmet, and you can't really see what you're looking at, and that also takes away a little bit of that that kind of nerve-wracking energy that most games have in this same genre. You can't really see the monster; it just kind of looks like a goofy silhouette most of the time, and even when you do see it up close, it's not like the most scary thing ever. And say what you want about the Thing, at least the Thing is a scary looking creature in that movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, of course. So I'm going to have a bit more criticism when it comes to something that's trying to mimic or use the idea of that and for its video game. And this one, the creature design just isn't like exactly there. Like there are things that are kind of spooky in the game, don't get me wrong. Like there's like set pieces where like you go around a corner and the guy's like being transformed into a monster, and he's got like 5 different eyes and 2 different hands, and it's spooky, yeah. But the main monster design itself is not that great, and it is unfortunate that it's not like as scary as I want it to be, because the setting is great. The setting, the idea, it's all great. It's all got the pieces there lined up to be a scary, nerve-wracking game. But in the end, it's a bit more mundane than I was hoping for, especially in those sections where you are kind of trying to hide from a monster. It just doesn't feel as spooky. I think I really only felt the nervous energy pop up when like maybe 2 times throughout the game. The rest of the time was either just like, okay, this is interesting, this is fine. But I think where this game really excels is just like the atmosphere that it puts on. Like it's got the design of this oil rig down to a T. I think that's really cool to explore. Even though it's a linear experience to explore, it's still really cool to explore it and go around. And obviously they did a lot of research into this type of thing, so that's really cool too. And the characters and stuff like that are all pretty well fleshed out. There's a couple main characters that you interact with a couple times, and there's also a couple of other various people to talk to, and they're all pretty fleshed out, pretty fairly nicely. I didn't really have a problem with that, and yeah, I mean, there's really not much else I got to say about it other than it's a nice experience. I think it's worth playing for sure. It's on Xbox Game Pass if you want to check it out there. That's where I played it, and I thought that it ran pretty well. It looked pretty good. Didn't have any technical issues with it, which is great. I thought the soundtrack was pretty good in the game, too. I thought the soundtrack was pretty good. It's not, like, super memorable, though. It's not going to be anything that I'm, like, humming on my way home, but it was a pretty good soundtrack. Fit the game pretty well. And that's really all I got to say about it. If you want to check out Still Wakes the Deep, like I said, it's pretty much available everywhere. This is not an ad, by the way. But if you want to check it out, it's pretty much available everywhere. It's also on Game Pass, which is also a nice addition as well. Alright, I also played a game called Frog Monster. This was shown off in an Iron Pineapple video. He does these steam dumpster diving videos where he he plays like a group of Souls-like games or games that are kind of Souls-like and shows them off a little bit, talks about them, has some fun with them. And Frog Monster was the one from the last episode that I was very interested in. It's a first-person shooter with like a blocky retro aesthetic, I guess you could say. And you play as this little frog spawn who needs to hunt down these monsters and stop them being created again even more, right? So it is kind of Souls-likey in a way, but it's also kind of boomer shooter as well. So the Souls-likeness comes from it's a pretty hardcore game. There's like there's checkpoints in places, but it's not. But it's kind of like a bonfire where you touch the flower and then you respawn there if you die again, right? So that's kind of how it's Souls-like there. Also in the difficulty, it's a pretty difficult game. It kind of reminds me of Cuphead at times, because you don't see the monster's health bar that you're shooting. But if you die to it, it shows you how much health it had left. So it can you're like, oh, I almost got to the end on that one too. Yeah, I do like that idea because it does keep you on your toes. Kind of makes you not know exactly where you're at in the boss fights. So it actually works out pretty well. The other thing that is Soulsy is the boss fights. They are designed very, very interestingly. I don't think I've ran into two boss fights that are exactly the same in this one, and I think that really goes a long way with a game like this, where it starts off a bit more basic. The first boss you fight, all it can really do is extend its neck at you and then shoot you. And then it later on you fight this tree that has a different fruit that it eats, and each fruit is a different attack, which is really interesting. There was this giant 8-legged monster with eyeballs that you had to shoot, which was okay. But there was another really interesting one where it was underwater and you could barely see anything. So the monster was attacking you in different directions. You had to try to, just for sound cues and stuff like that, hear where they're coming from, which was pretty intense. There was another one that I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, but there was this monster that was using electrical energy to shoot the metal platforms you were standing on, so you had to kind of keep moving around as you went. There's a lot of cool ones in there. There was this one that was just this flying dragonfly at first, and then it turned into okay, and now he is shooting you with guns, and now he's strafing you, and now he's doing all this. There's a lot of boss fights that really evolve as it goes along, which is really cool. I really like the idea that they're going for here. I really like what they're doing. Eventually, you get to this little town where you can upgrade your weapons, and they actually turn them into completely different weapon variants. The shotgun, you can change it from being a 2-shot gun to a 1-shot. Or you can, instead of just having one SMG, you can switch up and have 2 SMGs instead of just one. So you can do it akimbo. There's a bow and arrow that you can turn it into a crossbow, so it shoots faster. Just a lot of cool things like that. And this game oozes atmosphere. It's just a very well designed game. Everything about it is really on point, except for, I would say, at times the music is a bit it just sounds very generic at times, but there are other times where the music is really bumping. It really sounds good. So, in terms of first-person boomer shooter Souls-likes, I think it's really good so far. I've been really enjoying my time. I've made a lot of progress in it, and I am interested in going back and playing more, of course. But Shadow of the Erdtree kind of has my attention right now, as you do. But I will be getting back to it and playing it some more. And like I said, just a fair warning to anyone who is interested in this game. It is pretty difficult. The boss fights, they are no joke. The enemies are no joke. They're a lot of the times, the level design is pretty much okay, fight a few enemies while you're going along, and then there's a room where they throw a bunch of enemies at you, and those can get very intense very quickly. And the boss fights, once again, they kind of start off a bit basic, but they turn into something that can easily kill you in a couple hits. And the way that they offset that is you have this magic ability that you shoot at the enemy and it can give you some health back, or one of the main mechanics of the game is that you eat bugs. Each bug kind of has its own little property to it. So if you eat one bug, it heals you. If you eat another bug, it gives you more mana. You can equip the bugs. They all kind of give you something different. One gives you more ammo, one gives you more mana, one gives you more health, one gives you the ability to walk faster on water. there's so many different bugs and stuff that you can mix and match and change up your play style. It's very cool. It's a very cool, very interesting game. If you want to check it out, it's available everywhere. Well, maybe not. I'm playing it on Steam. I don't know if it's available everywhere. Let me rephrase that. I'm playing it on Steam. I don't know if it's everywhere, but the Steam version runs it really well. I've been enjoying my time. It's a little bit confusing as to where to go sometimes, but for the most part, yeah, it's very fun, really enjoyable. I would definitely check it out if you like boomer shooters or Souls-like games. Frog Monster. And then finally, we played a game called Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks pretty much all last week. I was kind of digging the game for quite a while, but the end of the game took a lot out of me, I will say. Shaolin Monks. This is like a. It's pretty much a beat 'em up, side-scrolling beat 'em. Not really side-scrolling, but it's like a 3D beat 'em up, and you fight all these like different like creatures and enemies, and you have like fatalities that you can perform. Some of them just kill the enemy instantly. Some of them are like multi-kills, and the other one is like a big power-up for your character, and those are really fun to use, and it all works pretty well. It's an old PS2 era game. So it's not going to be like, and it's Mortal Kombat, so you can't really take it too seriously at times. But there's some decent like boss fights. You fight like the characters from the game, and you actually decimate them in the end with like various finishing moves and stuff like that. So you fight like Reptile at one point, or you fight Katana and Melina and Jade, and all these characters from the base games. So I mean, obviously this one isn't canon, but there's a lot of like fun nods to Mortal Kombat in general in here. Like there's a bunch of characters that you know and love, Baraka and Liu Kang and Raiden and Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn and all the characters that are like the big characters from the game are in this one. And compared to the other like spin-off titles in the Mortal Kombat franchise, like Sub-Zero and the Special Forces. It's just it's leagues better than those. It's very much playable. The main problem arises, the voice acting is not really that good. The animations are not that great on the characters, and the final section of the game, like before you get to the credits, is just a load of bullshit. Excuse my French, but it is just a load of bullshit. You have to fight 3 bosses in a row with the same health bar, no checkpoints. And I must have been grinding that for like an hour straight, and I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm just kind of done. Technically, I finished the game. I got the Shao Kahn. I almost had him beat, and we just watched the cutscene. That's pretty much it. I just find it to be very it's just a brutal ending to the game. Like just out of nowhere, you don't have any like continues, or you don't have any checkpoints. You have to fight Shang Tsung, and then you have to fight Kintaro, and then you have to fight Shao Kahn. And I can get through Shang Tsung and Kintaro like super like not easy, but I can get through them usually pretty easily. And then you get to Shao Kahn, and he's just the most unfair character I've ever fought in a video game. He doesn't get staggered by anything. He has these long, wide ranged attacks, these long. And this is coming from me, a person who's completed so many Souls games, a person who's completed some of the harder games out there, and this Shaolin Monks game, because it has this design flaw where you don't have a checkpoint between Kintaro and Shao Kahn. So now I'm going into this fight with either less health than I should, or with less experience, because you have to fight the other 2 bosses before getting to this one, and sometimes you don't get back to Shao Kahn for a couple of tries because you just don't do as well. So it's just one of those things. Like it just was really frustrating by the end of it all, and it was kind of like, okay, we're there, we're at the end. We've seen Shao Kahn in all 2 of his or 3 of his phases. I don't need to beat this at this point. Like if I had unlimited time, sure, I could probably hash it out. But when you're streaming and you're just not getting it, and you're at the end of the game, I'm not going to do another stream just for the end of the game. And I ended up just saying, you know what, we'll mark it as beaten. We're right there, and we'll just watch the ending credits scene and move on. And that's what we did. And if you don't like that I did that, then I don't care. It's my choice in the end of it all, and Maybe someday I'll go back and try and do this fight, this three-pronged fight again. But before you judge me, try and do it yourself and see how you feel after an hour of beating your head against a wall. Okay, all right. And unlike a Souls game, to bring it all back around, usually it's one boss with maybe two phases that you're trying to fight in like a Dark Souls 3 or Elden Ring. In this game, it's three separate bosses, completely different bosses, who all have a full health bar when you fight them, and you don't have a full health bar. There's some health pickups you can get, but they're small health pickups. They give you like 20% health back in your health bar, and it's nothing. It's actually nothing. So it pretty much the end of this game is a giant middle finger to the player, and that's that. Shaolin Monks, it's kind of worth playing, but it gets a bit frustrating. And the level design, like it's pretty much an open world you can explore, but it's unclear where you need to go usually. But you can kind of fumble your way through it. So in the end, I think I was going to give it a B tier, but after the end, I said, yeah, we'll give it a C tier. That's what I feel on that. I forgot to say, Still Wicks the Deep, I gave a 3.5 at the end of the day. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the show, which is going to be a combo. We're going to do both the news and what's coming soon in one fell swoop. So let's move on to that. All right. The From Software boss said he wouldn't allow layoffs to happen in the studio. And the reasoning for this is actually the old Nintendo ex-president, Shiroto Iwata. He actually quoted him in an article recently, saying that the old ex-president of Nintendo, Iwata-san, who said that people who are afraid of losing their jobs are afraid of making good things. I'm paraphrasing that, but I totally share this view. I think it's true, and I think that people at Kodokawa, our parent company, understand that. I hold this view very strongly. While we can't say 100%, we can't say with complete certainty with what the future is going to hold for From Software and Kodokawa. At least as long as the company is my responsibility, that's something I would never let happen. So hopefully our players and our fans can take a bit of assurance from that. And this is coming directly from Hitaka Miyazaki. This is a great thing for him to say, especially in a time when so many studios are getting laid off. People are getting laid off and studios are getting closed. But I just wanted to start off with this just to show, hey, some people out there get it, And, From Software is one of those studios that they don't always work on the next big blockbuster game. Like, yeah, Elden Ring came out, but between Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3, they're two big blockbusters. They had Sekiro in there, which was a bit of a side project. They had a couple other games in there, and then also, like, more recently that we had Armored Core 6, which is obviously all these games are big games per se, but they don't take the entire resources of the company to make, which is a problem that I think a lot of companies have. Like, PlayStation will put all of Insomniac on the new Spider-Man game, and if that game flops, well, it's then like, okay, we didn't get our money back, so bye-bye. And actually, I have an article about this. Embracer Group, one of the worst companies in the world, closed down the Alone in the Dark developer, Pieces Interactive, because the remake of Alone in the Dark did not perform the way that they wanted it to. The game did not sell the way it wanted to, I believe. The Embracer CEO Lars Wingfors said the reimagining of the horror classic performed below management expectations, which is of course likely the reason that they closed down the studio. Now, this is like one miss in their entire, in their they've been around since 2007. Let me just say that in their entire tenure as a company, yeah, I mean, I understand, like, this probably took a lot of resources. It probably took a lot of manpower, a lot of years to develop. But I don't think anyone was like, I don't know. I feel like no one was like too harsh on the game. I think the people who played it, like, sure, they had their criticisms here and there, but I think for the most part they said, yeah, it's a great like homage or a reimagining of the Alone in the Dark games, and it's got that same style as like a Resident Evil remake or something like that, and it doesn't hit the same heights as those Resident Evil remakes, but a lot of people seem to like it, and it's really sad that obviously, like, yeah, I don't think Alone in the Dark was a big enough IP to begin with to really make millions of dollars, but I don't think that the studio deserves to be shut down for just having one game that didn't hit the sales quota, I guess you could say. I mean, obviously we don't know the exact numbers, but it's unfortunate, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you put all your eggs in this one basket of selling however many copies of Alone in the Dark, and you didn't make that, and of course they closed them down, but it just doesn't seem right. The game literally just came out. I think it had like 7s and 8s across the board, which is not bad by any metric. A lot of people see a 7 and they're like, "Oh, it's a bad game." No, it's out of 10. 7 out of 10 is still a good experience. It's above average. I say the same thing with my reviews out of 5. A 3 and a 3.5. That's not a bad game. It's just it's either average or above average. And a lot of those games are good games. Like, I mean, look at the Mad Max game that came out in 2017. A lot of people gave that a 7 out of 10. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 back in the day as well. And but I stand by that game. It's a really fun game. It's not the best game in the world, but it's still really fun. And I don't think it deserves to be shit on, especially by the creator of the Mad Max universe. But it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I think some people are a bit harsher in their stuff, but I always try to be fair. But anyway, going back to the point here, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I don't think I don't think this group deserved to be shut down, and maybe they rushed some things out the door because they were afraid of getting shut down, and in the end, their fears were realized when they probably heard the news. So it's unfortunate, but there you go. Bandai Namco has confirmed that they are doing a summer showcase with plenty of announcements and reveals. We'll probably get another look at the new Dragon Ball game coming up and Gundam Breaker 4, along with this article saying we might see Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. I don't know what that is. But this is scheduled to be about an hour long. It's going to start at 2:30 BST. Which I think is like, I don't know, like 6 o'clock our time or something like that. 5 o'clock my time. I'm not sure. But this is going to be on July 5th. The presentation will take place at the Anime Expo. So I guess we'll see what they have to show off, which might be kind of interesting. The Sony Rewards program is shutting down on the 31st of December 2024, so make sure you redeem your points before it gets completely shut down. You can redeem your points for like vouchers and stuff like that for actually for actual money. The more games you bought, the more points you got. This is not the same thing as PlayStation Stars. This is a different program that has been going on for a bit longer than PlayStation Stars. I think Sony Rewards has been around since like the PS4 era. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why they would shut this down. I think that this is it's a nice thing to do. Give back to your players a little bit. They buy a $70 game and you get 10 points or whatever. But this also affects the people who have credit cards. If you have a PlayStation Visa credit card, the credit card program is also ending as well. Which the credit cards used to give you like extra points for the rewards and stuff like that, which is why probably some people bought it, because if you're a Sony person, you want to buy Sony games, there you go. You can get points for your purchases, but the last day to access your account will be December 31st. After that, the mobile and website will not be available after that date. So if you need to spend your points, you got to do that before the end of the year. Major Nelson, a.k.a. Larry Herb. Major Nelson was a big part of the Xbox 360 era. He was the face of the Xbox 360 era, pretty much. You saw him on the Xbox 360 dashboard every time you logged in and stuff like that. Always had his things to say. He was a chill guy. I don't know him personally, so whatever. But He is getting back into the game after retiring from Xbox a few years, maybe about a year ago now, I think. He has decided to team up with Unity. In a post on Twitter, he said, "I am thrilled to announce that I am joining the community team at Unity. Building on my long history as a developer advocate at Xbox, I'm excited to collaborate again with developers, harnessing our collective creativity to shape the future of real-time gaming and experiences. Let's make magic happen." Unity has, of course, been was under some pretty harsh scrutiny about a year ago when they tried to change their policy for how their Unity engine works and how the payments go out. And I think that having someone like Larry Herb, aka Major Nelson, on the team, he might have some better ideas than the people who have been leading Unity up to this point. We'll see what happens at this point. I'm positive that hopefully he's not as corrupt as the people who used to run Unity, but we shall see. We shall certainly see. All right, big news. The original Time Splitters game on the PS2 was rated for release. People are saying it's likely that's going to be coming to the PlayStation Plus Classics catalog, and if that is true, that would be a big dub. The original Time Splitters is a classic by many people's definition. I have all three of the games on my shelf physically for PS2, but having a PS4 or PS5 version would be a lot easier to play, I would say. So yeah, there was a rating for the game. Actually, just recently, the original creators of Time Splitters were shut down. So I don't know if this was the last thing they were working on, or if this is something else entirely. Maybe PlayStation bought the rights to the games. I don't know. If PlayStation did buy the rights to release the games, I really do hope they do the entire trilogy. Everyone knows that Time Splitters 2 is the definitive classic first-person shooter from the PS2 era. Everyone loved that game, and to bring these games back would be really nice. Sure, we won't be getting a new Time Splitters game, but if we can keep these older games alive, that would be amazing. Yeah, if it is true, I'd be very ecstatic. I'd be very, very happy to see these come back, and would love to play them. I only played the second game though, so it would be a new experience to play the first game at least. I'm trying to rectify that on in my backlog. I have the games, but yeah, very exciting. We'll see what happens after today or whenever. We'll see what happens. Also, I don't usually talk about rumors because whatever, but a God of War remake rumor has been circulating around. According to the person talking about it, the remaster or remake of the entire trilogy is on its way. It could be announced later this year, but they're not sure exactly when. Next year, I believe, marks the 20th anniversary of the original God of War. Yeah, the 20th anniversary of the original God of War. So if they were going to do a remake, it seems like for the anniversary, that would be good. And they could also change some things to tie it into the 2014, not 2014, the God of War from 2018. God, I'm blinking right now. Oh my gosh. It would be cool. It would be cool to see these games remastered and given the next gen graphics and stuff like that. It would be really cool. I don't know if they would do the entire trilogy though. I feel like if they're gonna do them, it'd be like with the Metroid Prime games where they're like, oh, we'll do one and then release a couple more after that. But it would be cool to see these games come back, especially with how popular God of War is nowadays. But once again, just a rumor. We'll see if anything comes about that. Probably in the next State of Play, we might see something about it if they're going to be doing it. But we'll see. Lords of the Fallen. The people behind Lords of the Fallen, the new one and the old one, they have announced that the sequel to Lords of the Fallen is in development. Lords of the Fallen 2. Now, this is getting really confusing because Lords of the Fallen, the original game, originally came out in 2014, and then they released Lords of the Fallen in 2023, the same name, but a reboot of the series, which is technically Lords of the Fallen 2. And now Lords of the Fallen 2 is actually Lords of the Fallen 3, but it's actually Lords of the Fallen 2 in the reboot series. It's a very, it's a bit of a clusterfuck. Now, I don't know how many people are really going to get these games confused because obviously the original Lords of the Fallen game, I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't reviewed very, very well, and a lot of people didn't really like the game. I mean, it grew on me as I played it, and I think a lot of people are the same way, where it's like you play a little bit of or more of it than like the first couple hours, and then you start like to feel it. You start to feel like the game, the game feels better than what you did at the beginning. But I digress. So they're calling this code name Project 3, and they're planning on releasing it sometime in 2026. So I'm guessing they're going to use a lot of assets from the Lords of the Fallen game here that came out in 2023. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Xbox is starting to refund the Redfall DLC owners following the closure of Arcane Austin and them announcing that the DLC wasn't going to be coming out. People have been starting to get messages that they are being refunded the entire price of the season pass of about $26.99. So whether you bought it on the Xbox store or the Windows Marketplace, whatever it's called, the Windows Store, Microsoft Store, you will start to get refunds for your transaction for the DLC. The final update for the game came out about a month ago now, and they announced that there would be nothing more happening to the game, no more updates, no DLC. So people who got the season pass, it's nice that they're getting their money back for that. And RIP. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 got a very nice gameplay overview trailer kind of thing, I guess you could say. It was a very lengthy, I guess it was like 6 minutes, but still, it was a pretty lengthy showcase of the game, showing off how many enemies can be on screen at the same time. It almost looks like World War Z at some points. There's new gameplay and stuff like that, along with single-player campaign and co-op multiplayer. And co-op and competitive multiplayer. It looks like it's going to be a pretty nice, complete package there. The game's still looking to be shipped out on the September 9th. It just looks really good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I would suggest that you check it out. It looks really cool. It looks really good, too. Like, the graphics and stuff are on point. And, like, the amount of enemies on the screen, too, is just really impressive. I see maybe some of the same problems that I had with the first game, but I still really enjoyed the first game, so it's not like I'm going to be super critical of the second one for being kind of the same. Yeah, I'm very excited to see more about this. They also showed off some of the customization of the characters as well, so once again, that comes out September 9th. A Quiet Place is getting a video game adaptation. It's going to be a narrative-driven horror game called A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. It's going to be coming out to PS4 and Xbox later this year, probably in time or maybe right around the same time as the prequel movie is coming out. In a press release, they said, capturing the frantic terror, unnerving atmosphere, and gripping human drama that made the franchise famous, A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead is designed for fans of the films, horror games, and story-driven adventures alike. Experience the journey of a young woman struggling to endure not only the nightmarish creatures of the apocalypse, but also the anguish of interpersonal family conflicts and her own inner fears. With nothing more than your wits and the simple tools you can scavenge, you'll have to overcome many treacherous challenges and obstacles that lay ahead. So yeah, they released a couple of screenshots. I think they even had I guess they didn't have a reveal trailer. There's a couple of screenshots. I mean, it looks like what you expect. It's like a first-person game. You have like a sound meter on you or whatever, and you build up like a little base and stuff like that. So it might be not. It might be kind of good, but we'll wait and see for more information about that. Pepper Grinder, which came out earlier this year, is finally getting released on the PS5 and PS4. So it'll be coming on August 6th. It's going to be about $15, which is the same as the Nintendo Switch version. I believe it's also coming to Xbox as well. Yeah, Pepper Grinder was a fun time. I enjoyed it. It was too short, though, in my opinion. Like, I felt like it really needed like another like 2 worlds attached to it, but for what it's worth, I thought it was a really fun game, really fun experience, pretty unique in a lot of ways. If you want to check it out and you have a PS5 or an Xbox, that'll be coming August 6th. And Forza Horizon 5 has unveiled a new car pack called the Universal Icons Pack, which is bringing a bunch of famous cars to the game. So it looks like there's, 5 cars in total? 3 of them being pretty much the same thing, but I digress. So you got Knight Rider, Kit, right? Kit is the name. The Knight Rider car. You have the Jeep from the original Jurassic Park, which I do love the design of. And then you have all 3 versions of the Back to the Future DeLorean. So you have the first movies, which is, your basic Back to the Future version. You have the Back to the Future 2 version, which is more kitted out with the futuristic stuff on it. And then Back to the Future 3 has like the old Western, it has like the old, like the tires and like that box on the front that they put on it to get Back to the Future. So if you want to check that out, it's available right now. It came out on July 18th, and it's available for $10. And here are 5 games leaving Xbox Game Pass later this month on June 30th. You have FIFA 22, Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, Stranded Deep, Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, and Sword and Fairy Together Forever. If you want to check out any of those games, they'll be gone on July 30th. The one game I would definitely recommend here is Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch. I love that game. It was one of my top 10 favorite games of the year that came out. One of the first Metroidvanias that really clicked with me and started me into the genre. So I would definitely check out that one. If you're a fan of survival games, Stranded Deep is pretty good. It's an old YouTube staple. PewDiePie used to play that game all the time. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Let's go ahead and finish this off with the song of the week. If you know the name of the song and the game that's from, make sure you comment below, and I will give you a heart and a congratulations. Or in the Discord, in the Fair64 Discord section, I will give you a super reaction. Let's hear what today's song is right now. All right, if you know the name of that song and the game that it came from, let me know in the places that I told you to. Thank you so much again for listening to this episode of the podcast. We appreciate that. If you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We are streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday right now. We're doing like the summer gaming bonanza, the summer backlog bonanza. I apologize, trying to get through as many games as I can, and each one is chosen randomly by a marble race. We're starting up, or we did start the Order 1886. We're going to finish that up probably on Sunday this week, the day that I'm recording this. If you want to check that out. And, of course, like I said, everything else is random. So we do a random marble race at the end of the game we finish, if you want to check that out. The other podcast I do is called Film Freaks with a Z. The most latest episode is about Inside Out. The next episode is going to be about Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. If you want to check out either of those episodes, the Revenge of the Fallen episode comes out next week. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I will talk at you next week. Bye-bye.
The Fair64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.